Okay, we have massive news coming out of Minnesota. As the headline says, Minnesota sues Trump administration over shootings, including deaths of Alex Pretti and Renee Good. So this is massive news. As we go through this, please leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about it, and also make sure to please like this video. It helps out a ton. So, Minnesota state and county officials sued the federal government Tuesday, alleging they are being blocked from investigating the shootings of Renee Good, Alex Pretti, and Julio Siles. In the lawsuit filed with the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, Hennepin County District Attorney Mary Morarty, and Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans alleged that the Justice Department and the Department of Homeland Security have blocked state investigators from accessing the evidence they need in order to investigate the 3 shootings. And look, we have heard this before, almost on day 1 of this all happening. Okay, so we actually have the lawsuit right here, and it's 43 pages long, but I will give you the notable sections. So first things first, this lawsuit focuses on the 3 shooting incidents that occurred between January 7th and January 24th, 2026, and the federal government's decision to block a state-level investigation into each incident. Carrying out their ordinary responsibilities, Minnesota authorities responded to the scene of each shooting to investigate. Because the shootings involve federal agents, state investigators expected federal cooperation consistent with long-standing historical practices. At the scene of the first 2 incidents, the killing of Renee Good and the shooting of Julio Siles, federal agents initially indicated that they would work with Minnesota authorities and share relevant information. State investigators thus began their work in reliance on that understanding. But in both cases, federal agents quickly renegade on their pledges to cooperate. Instead of sharing information, federal authorities took exclusion possession of evidence that had been collected, and they denied Minnesota investigators access to key information. At the scene of the 3rd shooting, the killing of Alex Pretti, federal immigration officers physically blocked investigators of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, you've probably heard that before, from accessing the scene. That physical obstruction persisted even after state officials obtained a judicial warrant authorizing access to the scene. As with the previous 2 shootings, federal authorities took exclusive control of evidence and refused state and local authorities access to even the most basic information related to the incident, such as the identities of the involved officers. Okay, so again, leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about this. But when we scroll down to page 15, this is the way the state is describing what they saw or encountered as far as this massive operation, Operation Metro Surge. Check this out. Factual allegations. In the late 2025, the Trump administration initiated a large-scale immigration enforcement initiative known as Operation Metro Surge. I do want to note, before the big surge, ICE agents were already heavily active in this area, and we actually already saw some clashes between protesters, and we even saw investigations done on the local police to see whether or not they are cooperating with ICE agents. I'm specifically talking about St. Paul, Minnesota Police Department. The federal government deployed thousands of federal officers from agencies including ICE and CBP to conduct immigration enforcement activities in Minnesota. This operation represented an unprecedented concentration of federal immigration personnel and was undertaken without coordination with state and local authorities. So please leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about that so far, and I know what some of you are thinking as far as Hennepin County, which Minneapolis is in Hennepin County. We know that the mayor was saying F ICE, and we know that there are policies out there as far as having a division between cooperation with ICE. There was a lot of pushback, so I do find it rather interesting, again, shifting the blame to federal agents as far as there was no coordination when there already is no coordination even before this federal surge. Typically speaking, or generally speaking, only under very certain circumstances do you have coordination, but generally speaking, there is no coordination. It's in their own policies as far as local police do not help out with immigration enforcement. Moving on, in a break from long-standing law enforcement practices, federal officers in Operation Metro Surge frequently concealed their identities with masks. Masking not only conceals agents' identities from the public, it also makes it difficult for state and local investigators to identify agents involved in shootings or other potentially unlawful incidents without federal cooperation. The fact that federal officers intentionally concealed their identities underscores the need for plaintiffs to access investigative material relating to the 3 shootings by federal agents during Operation Metro Surge. I also found this notable, a possibility of accusing the federal government of lying. News media reported it had become clear that federal agents involved lied during sworn testimony. And this had to do with the involvement of this case right here, the shooting of Mr. Sosa Siles. Okay, so if you guys want to look more into the details, this is the case right here if you want to screenshot it or go look it up, because this is massive news and a lot more outlets are reporting on this. Again, the core accusation is that the BCA was not able to coordinate or try to get some information from federal agents when this all happened on the scene. And the other big argument is that this is not historically how things are done, typically speaking, according to this case. Minnesota is arguing that, typically, historically speaking, we work together. Even though this is a federal case and there is a federal jurisdiction, there is some sort of mutual respect or ability to try and coordinate together or work together as far as information provided on both sides. Again, that is what they are arguing. Okay, so moving forward, recently the mayor of Minneapolis appeared on MS Now.
Much for coming to the weekend. Congratulations to you and the people of Minneapolis and St. Paul and the Twin Cities for getting the Profiling Courage Award. That's the happy part of my statement. The not so happy part is putting up on the screen a social media post from the president yesterday and a threat that he's made to Democrats if they don't reopen the Department of Homeland Security. He says, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports where they will do security like no one has ever seen before, including the immediate arrest of all illegal immigrants who have come to into our country, with heavy emphasis on those from Somalia.
Okay, so I'm surprised he did not read the rest of the quote, who have totally destroyed with the approval of a corrupt governor, attorney general, and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, the once great state of Minnesota. So again, he is specifically mentioning the state of Minnesota, but I also want to give a little more context. At the beginning of this interview, you may have heard something about an award. That's because the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, people have received an award, or notioned an award was given to them as far as resistance against ICE. So keep that in mind.
Mr. Mayor, that is an incredible threat. And as the mayor of a city that has had to deal with not just threats from the president of the United States, but outright action, your reaction to that?
When he says that he's going to do security like no one has ever seen before, he doesn't actually mean that he's going to keep people secure. If the goal here was safety at airports, he could hire out more TSA agents that do an incredible job at keeping our airports safe. If the goal was keeping our streets safe in our cities, he would work with cities around hiring additional police officers and creating the kind of safety infrastructure that we need to keep people safe.
Whenever I listen to the mayor of Minneapolis, he brings up the police department a lot in contrast to federal operations like Operation Metro Surge. One of the biggest arguments, or the most made argument from the mayor of Minneapolis, was he only has 600 police officers and he's not able to keep up with the 4,000 federal agents in his city, and those agents seem to be overtaking the city in the aspect of police officers just don't know exactly what's going on, and it's creating a lot of confusion. You guys can let me know how you feel about that argumentation, but he does talk about the police a lot whenever ICE or security gets brought up as far as federal operations are concerned.
But of course, we all know that's not the goal. The goal is to terrorize people. And for someone that states that they care so much about bringing the economy back, causing a ton of fear in airports, preventing the kind of safe air travel that we need for commerce, is not a good mechanism to do it.
Okay, and I also do want to mention these ICE agents that are deployed around the United States, embedded with TSA agents, they are not stationed at the St. Paul or Minneapolis areas as far as operating with TSA agents. There was a massive misconception that just because the president did mention figures within Minnesota, ICE agents as of right now have not been stationed or deployed there to help out TSA. Okay, so there's another really big story coming out of Minnesota. It's this one right here. Ramos family plans to appeal asylum denial after ICE detention during Operation Metro Surge. I think you guys might remember that situation where ICE was accusing this man for abandoning his child and the mother not wanting the child as this operation was taking place. That became super famous, a lot of news coverage, a lot of politicians were going back and forth over this. That is what we're talking about here. Apparently, he was denied asylum. And by the way, a lot more people are denied asylum than you might realize. If you ever want to go look into those statistics, it's actually extremely difficult to get asylum. And according to Tom Homan, the asylum process right now is super backed up because of how many people are trying to apply for asylum. But the burden of proof is really on the person who's trying to apply for asylum. And like, if you miss the date, the very short amount of time you have to apply for asylum, you're almost an automatic no at that point. They just say you're too late and you're done. That happens a lot, so keep that in mind.
Who grabbed national immigration judge has denied an asylum claim for a Minnesota father and son who grabbed national headlines. Many remember this image from January during the ICE surge. Federal agents took 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father from their home in Columbia Heights. While they are now facing deportation, Jason Rantle explains why this may not be the final decision.
It's the picture that sparked international interest. 5-year-old Liam Ramos taken into custody by ICE agents along with his father. Columbia Heights school officials allege Liam was used as bait.
It just feels so.
Now, to be fair to this story, because we actually covered this in detail as well, there is another side to the story, and I'm not sure if they're going to show this, but there were also images of ICE agents taking care of this kid as well. And that really did spark the debate of what happens to these children in these types of situations, and DHS really had to go through an entire campaign of educating America. We do have certain facilities and programs to help out these children. So I'm not sure if they're going to show that side of the story, but you guys can do your own research and fact check me to see whether or not I'm telling the truth on that.
Hurt for the family and all they've been through.
Representatives for Liam and his father said the family entered the U.S. from Ecuador and used an official app to start the process of asylum. But DHS said that it has no record of that. Liam and his dad were held at the Dilley Immigration Center in Texas until February, when a federal judge ordered their release back to Minnesota. But now a new twist, the Ramos' asylum claim getting denied by an immigration judge.
I think for the family, it is, they feel that they have been traumatized. As we all know here, what the family went through, the little boy and his family.
Pascal Wakocha is an immigration attorney working with the Ramos family. He says a federal judge in New York denied the asylum claim a month ago after the federal government requested that this case be put on an expedited track. Not long after, Wakocha says attorneys filed an appeal set to be reviewed by a judge. While they wait, the Ramoses will be allowed to stay in the country.
Poor little Liam just.
And by the way, that is very common, just so you guys are aware. During these asylum cases, you can technically still be detained, but at the same time, it's usually not that common, but we have seen that before. I'm sure you guys have heard, like Kilmar Obrego Garcia, there was a lot of drama with that, where he was trying to reapply for asylum, but then he got denied. But nonetheless, when you look into different asylum cases, and we've covered a lot on my channel, it's not uncommon to be in the asylum process and not be detained. Keep that in mind.
You know, a child who didn't ask for any of this and their family has done everything they're supposed to do.
Columbia Heights Mayor Amada Marquez Samula says she's asking for immigration reform to help keep Liam and his family in the country.
I hope that our government can be the America that I want it to be, that it can be the place where when we ask for asylum and people want to be here and they want to work hard, that we are a country that can do that for them.
Okay, and again, like I said, it's actually very, very difficult. Even if you come from a country where you would assume you can get asylum, that's not the only marker you need to hit as far as being approved for it. So anyway, I'm just trying to show you guys, this is another big story, and I do expect if the asylum is denied again, we might see this story back in the news, we might see some protesting, or a politician might bring this to the light as far as the mainstream media. So just trying to show you this is out there as well. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you are new here, again, make sure to please subscribe, and make sure to please like this video. We were covering Operation Metro Surge almost every single day, and I am still tracking Operation Metro Surge, especially what's going to happen with those church protesters. I am very curious about that. So, thank you guys so much for everything. Please pray for peace, and also, of course, please seek Christ. Thank you guys so much. God bless all of you, and we'll see you all later.